This morning in Chicago, the Obama Presidential Center will officially be unveiled. The dedication ceremony gets underway in just over an hour. The center has been nearly a decade in the making. The 19-acre campus features a museum, public spaces, gardens, and exhibits tracing President Obama's journey from community organizer to the White House. Historian and dear friend of mine, Jon Meacham, joins us now. Jon, it's so great to have you here at 9 a.m., not late night. Let's talk about what we are seeing. This is very, very different from other presidential libraries. What do you make of this break from tradition? Those of us haven't seen it, don't know that much about it. It's very different.
It is, and it's, presidential libraries have two functions. The people being commemorated don't acknowledge this, but they are both celebrations of presidencies, which is why individual foundations and the presidential families are very involved in that. They are also about commemoration, and I would draw a distinction between celebration and commemoration. It's a relevant distinction, actually, as we head into the 4th of July as well. To celebrate is sort of to find what is good and raise it up. To commemorate is also to contemplate that which was bad. These are, broad life terms. And what I think a presidential library should do is try to tend toward the commemorative, because we need to learn that these folks who are being memorialized were men and someday women before they were monuments. And I think the capacity for libraries and centers like this to teach are those in which ones that don't make the principle appear unreachable, but at hand, right? I mean, it's always easier to listen to a sermon from a sinner than a saint. It's a lot easier to be inspired by a human being who was flawed and yet did great things than someone who's presented as simply a great person.
As you think about Obama's 8 years in office, what do you hope people get from a visit to this museum?
It's one of the great biographical stories in American history. President Obama, virtually unimaginable when he was born in the 1960s, that he would accomplish what he accomplished. Parenthetically, by the age, he accomplished it. It's a hugely important, significant life. It was a important presidency. We should make a distinction here, though. Barack Obama should be studied forever because of this remarkable achievement that he pulled off in a country with such a complicated racial history and racial present. So that's one thing. His presidency is a subject of greater debate and always will be, because that's what presidencies are. And so there is a biographical element here, and there's a historical element. Barack Obama is a fascinating man. There are those who love him and would jump off that tall library for him. And there are those who cannot stand him. And in a big, complicated, disputatious country, that's really interesting. And it's something that I hope folks who go to people who read President Obama's memoir, who read books about his presidency, I hope they wrestle with that dichotomy, because in wrestling with that dichotomy, you wrestle with the American dichotomy.
Jon Meacham, the only person who would use the word disputatious on our air, with maybe the exception of Chris Hayes on a holiday. You mentioned the 4th of July around the corner. That, of course, is America's 250th birthday. How are you thinking about this milestone? What do you feel like Americans should be focusing on at this time when there is a obvious deep divide here?
I wish folks would just go back to the document, go back to why we focus on the 4th of July. The Declaration of Independence came about on the motion of Richard Henry Lee in June of Virginia. He called for a declaration of independence. the greatest committee ever created. Imagine this subcommittee. A lot of folks are on nonprofits and things, and they're on committees. Listen, how about a Zoom meeting with Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson? You know, that's you don't want to mute anybody. That document, that mission statement, we hold these truths to be self-evident. We can judge ourselves in every generation by the degree to which we have lived into that sentence or the degree to which we have tragically fallen short of it. So I hope everybody goes back to the document and then thinks about who invoked it when. The women at Seneca Falls, men and women are created equal. Frederick Douglass, Abraham Lincoln, Franklin Roosevelt, Martin Luther King. And guess what? All of us can do it too.
Jon Meacham, it is an honor and a privilege to have you here. We're going to take a commercial break so we can get to our phones and look up the definition of disputatious. But in the meantime, I want to thank you so much for joining me, my friend.